for the first 36 hours straight with no sleep, trying to get an answer what happened with her.
I am beyond worry. Yeah, it's terrifying.
That was the parent of missing person Noemi Bolivar. Now, that interview was done only a few days after she had been missing. We are now looking at 5 weeks, and you can see how concerned they were back then. I can imagine things have only gotten far, far worse as the weeks have been ticking by. This is a family that has a community rallying around them, trying to support them. There's some good local coverage happening, but we need to get more people on this. We need more eyes, ears, and hearts open and looking for her. It's time to turn on the searchlight for Noemi Bolivar. Welcome back to Brainscratch Searchlight. I'm John Lorden. Thank you so much for caring about these cases like I do. Let's start by learning where this is taking place. Jumping to a map here, and we are headed to the state of Florida. Specifically, a lot of people, when they hear the term Hollywood, they think California, but there is also Hollywood, Florida, and that is where today's case is taking place. It's a city in southern Broward County, located between Fort Lauderdale and Miami. As of July 1st, 2019, Hollywood had a population of 154,000 people. As always, we are starting at NamUs. Thankfully, there is already a profile built up for Noemi Carmela Bolivar, a female Hispanic Latina. Date of last contact, February 11th, 2021, 21 years of age. We can see it looks like, I don't know if they tried to create a NCMEC case and it's stating she's ineligible. Typically, once NCMEC will list cases where people are younger than 21 years, but I think 21 years old is kind of the stopping point. So that might be why it's noted here. Honestly, I've never seen it kind of pop up on a NamUs profile like this. But let's take a look at the critical information. 5 feet 3 inches tall, weighs about 126 pounds. We've got circumstances of disappearance here. She left her house on February 11th, 2021 to go for a walk. She actually winds up taking a bus to go to an area that she likes to walk in. She went to Ann Kolb Nature Center by the county bus. Information found shows that she did get off the county bus at that location. At this time, it is not believed that foul play is involved. So we're going to be going through all the information and we'll kind of stitch together points of contact. We're pretty certain she did indeed get to Ann Kolb Nature Center. It's kind of a question in terms of, did she really leave there or not? We've got some information that makes it seem like, well, we at least know that her phone did. But we're not getting very strong confirmation, and we'll talk about those considerations as we go on. Black hair. Her hair length is just past her shoulders. She was wearing it in a ponytail on that particular day. Brown eyes. She was also wearing dark sunglasses. For clothing and accessories, she had a striped black and white shirt, blue jean Bermuda shorts, teal colored sneakers, and of course, she was also wearing a face mask. It was white. No other information here. This is the only photo that they have of her. For the contact info, they did have the case information. Of course, I'll have that in the description box down below with the contact info down there. Of course, on the screen right now, we've got the phone number for the Hollywood PD, but if you do need to remain anonymous for any reason at all, we've also got a Crime Stoppers number in the description box down below. Let's start looking at the news stories, starting with local10.com. Family friends concerned after 21-year-old woman on autism spectrum disappears. So, of course, we're always concerned whenever anyone disappears, but now we've also got a bit of another risk factor in this. Maricel Bolivar is beside herself, desperate for information on her daughter. Quote, "This is totally out of character. She would never disappear on her own without saying something. She's not that kind of runaway kid or anything. She's a good girl." And honestly, she's 21 years old at the time that she goes missing. So if she did want to run away for some reason, she would certainly be able to, but her family, her friends, they're all very clear this isn't just in her character. It's not in her makeup to be this type of person that would do something like that. Although she's 21, her family says that she has the social maturity of a 15-year-old, but she's very high functioning and very bright. In fact, she just graduated from Brigham Young University in Idaho with a degree in wildlife ecology. And I did bump into one video. I'm not going to show it here. I believe it's a report that she was doing on sharks and how they're important to the ecology of Earth. So I can tell you just from viewing that video, this is someone extremely bright, very, very sharp, very good with processing high-level information. And of course, her love for ecology comes into play a little bit when we talk about where she went. She went to a nature center. On Thursday, she told her parents she was going for a walk, but she never returned. Karam Riker is a family friend who has been helping look for Noemi. And let me just start right off the bat by saying Karam is doing just an amazing job. Whenever I talk to families that are having a missing loved one, I always try to stress with them, you need a team. You need to put a team together. You can't do all this on your own. And Karam has really stepped up to be a bit of the kind of media contact. We're going to hear some other things in terms of what her and her husband are actually doing to contribute to this overall by the end of this episode. But I'm just always thankful when people step up to help the families. They're dealing with a lot. And to have to deal with all these different points of media, kind of pushing this information back out over and over and over, retelling those same facts over and over and over, it could be extremely hard on family members. So I'm really thankful that she's there to help them with that. Quote, she doesn't take anything with her. She's not taking a credit card with her. She's not taking a purse with her. She's not taking a bag with a change of clothes or anything. She just leaves with her cell phone on her and her mask, Riker said. Thankfully, we do have a cell phone, which means we've got probably some information we're going to be able to lean on in terms of possible movements with that phone as we go forward in all this. Jumping over to MiamiHerald.com, we hear that she was a little bit upset at the time. She became frustrated after receiving news that she was turned down for an internship that she had applied for, and she decided to take this walk to calm down. She took the city bus to the Ann Kolb Nature Center on Sheridan Street, one of her favorite places. Around 7 p.m., her brother became concerned because she hadn't called or texted him, and they both needed to be somewhere at 8, so he called the police. Other articles state that was actually a Bible study that was done over Zoom, and she missed that appointment. When she missed that appointment, they knew something was wrong. Hollywood officers said that her cell phone pinged near 2300 South Ocean Drive, which is about 3 miles away from the Nature Center, at 10 p.m. The phone pinged again at 11 p.m., this time at around 2300 North Ocean Drive, which is actually closer to the Nature Center. It's about 1.5 miles. Let's take a look at the map so we can kind of lay out the path of travel here. So she walked from her home to a bus stop somewhere around 7000 Sheridan Street. That is right here. Jumps on the bus and takes it pretty much directly east to about 800 Sheridan. And I assume there might be a couple stops along the way here. A bus ride of that nature, I think, could wind up taking quite a bit more time than you would expect if you would just get in a car and drive down this. So it's kind of hard for me to estimate, but I would figure she's probably on the bus for somewhere like at least 20 minutes, maybe even more, maybe more like 40 minutes. But she gets off at 800 Sheridan Street. This is where the bus drops her off. She presumably then is on foot, walking a few more blocks over to the Nature Center, and this is where the Nature Center is. We know that she winds up taking a photo that she sends to a friend. First of all, there's communication that she's doing around this time. She's texting with a friend of hers, a college friend that lives out of state. We're going to get more details on that. But at some point, she does send a selfie of herself in like this lookout tower, which is right here, kind of part of the visitor center here. And we've actually got a close-up on the view from the tower. So in here, she sends a selfie, essentially. From there, we get the 2 phone pings. The first one at 2300 South Ocean. And what's curious about this area is there is obviously Ocean Drive here, but on the other side of this cluster of hotels and apartments, there is kind of a beach walk as well. So that's one of the things. I'm not really positive if they know, is she specifically on the street? Is she over on the beach? As a matter of fact, one of the big questions in this case is, are we talking about GPS information? Are we talking about cell tower triangulation? The way that they're putting out this info seems to me like they're actually talking about GPS information. And we're going to hear something else in this article that leads me to believe they might have had a feature on her phone that was giving them much better coordinates than just kind of a general area like a cell phone tower ping would. But then we get the second location that she's pinged at. So it seems like I believe this ping is at about 10 at night, about 3 miles south of where she was earlier. But around 11, when they get the last ping, it's up here. And not only is it only about 1.5 miles from kind of that visitor center that we were looking at, but actually part of the park is still just directly west of where this happens. And I'm just bringing that up because I'm kind of concerned once again, like if we have a GPS point, we know that that's within a matter of feet. But if we're using some type of cell tower triangulation, I'm just concerned that there's some possibility that she might still be in the park. Another thing I can't find firm confirmation on is I don't know if the park has cameras. I would be assuming there's some type of camera around the visitor center. Do they see her coming in? Do they see her going out? In terms of this walkway, there's a bunch. I went looking. I'm not seeing a ton of businesses necessarily. There seems to be a lot of hotels, a lot of apartment structures. I'm sure there's some businesses that are kind of built in around that. But I kind of did the walk virtually looking for cameras. I'm seeing cameras every so often. So I'm wondering, do they have any camera footage of her that kind of lines up with, her cell phone pinged in this area at this particular time? We went to this business. We found a camera. We've got someone in a shot that we think might be her. Do they have any information like that? At least for what's come out publicly, nothing that strong. So that's why I'm really kind of throwing this big question into, we know that her cell phone's pinging out in these areas. That doesn't necessarily mean that she's with it. And I think we just have to kind of keep that in mind. So one last consideration from this article, a cause of particular concern is that the locator service on her iPhone has been turned off. And when you hear things like this, I think you can't help but wonder about the possibility that she's with someone, she's worried about being found, or they're worried about her being found. Someone has taught her or has taken the phone from her to disable that locator service. Another thing that's not really clear from the media coverage on this is her phone off at this point? Is it still on? Was it specifically that the locator service was turned off, or was it that the whole phone has been shut off and has been off ever since? We don't have strong confirmation on those details, unfortunately. Over at Broward.org, just a little information about the park that she went to. It opened in 1996. It's over 1,500 acres. It's become the largest in their park system, a coastal mangrove wetland rich in plant and animal life, including some threatened and endangered species. Something I was curious about this location is how late are they open, especially during the week. The hours that are listed here are all showing that it's open until 7:30 at night. So if she gets on the bus around 4, let's long shot it and say the bus took really long. She gets down there around 5, walks what seems like it couldn't be more than a half an hour. She would still have a few hours to actually be in the park. And the time frame for when she sends the photo to her friend, I don't know that it's really solid. I've heard that kind of slip around, but it seems to be somewhere in the 5 o'clock to 6 o'clock range when that photo from the visitor center, or the tower at the visitor center, is actually sent. Over at the sunsentinel.com, Noemi Bolivar has been riding the bus since being a student at MacArthur High School when she was in dual enrollment, taking both high school and college level classes. She then attended Brigham Young University in Idaho until coming home to complete her degree during the pandemic. And as a matter of fact, East Idaho News is reporting on this case as well. And thankfully, they reached out to some of her friends and got some better information. Her former BYU Idaho roommate, Martha Winward, told EastIdahoNews.com Bolivar enjoyed exploring Rexburg, but would always return home when darkness fell. She wouldn't do anything super reckless, Winward said. She's never said anything like she wants to leave home or just be left alone. Another one of Bolivar's former roommates, Summer Heaton, is believed to be the last person to speak with the missing woman. Heaton explained the two were talking over Snapchat the afternoon of Bolivar's disappearance. "We had been having a super casual conversation," Heaton said. "I didn't feel like anything was off." Bolivar is reported to have told her family she was going on a walk. Heaton said Bolivar had sent Snapchats from a bus and then started sending them from the nature center. The two talked about Bolivar not getting the internship that she wanted, but how she was applying for other jobs. Then the messages stopped. The next day, Bolivar's family contacted Heaton to tell her that she disappeared. So somewhere in that 5 to 6 time frame, we have these kind of Snapchat conversations going on. Somewhere between 6 and 7, I think, is when the communication stops. And then we know that Zoom appointment for her Bible study is at 8. And when she's not home for that, the family is very, very concerned. So pretty tight little window that we have there in terms of her all of a sudden being out of touch. And then, of course, we get the pings at 10 o'clock and 11 o'clock that night once the authorities are starting to look into this. Over at the Miami Herald from February 15th, a devastated mother and father are pleading for the public's help in the search for their 21-year-old daughter. Maricel and Jose Bolivar told CBS4 that their daughter, Noemi, was last heard from in a Snapchat. Maricel said, "I'm beyond worried. I'm terrified. We've not heard from her in 4 days. She's not the type of girl to disappear. She's a church-going girl, and she's never done anything like this before. This is so out of character. She didn't take any money and left all of her belongings here. What worries me is that someone may have taken her." Her father, Jose, said, "For me, it's really hard. It's just hard. Just remember, this can be your daughter. This can be your neighbor's daughter. Please help us find out what happened." Jose Bolivar said he's been receiving a lot of support from members of his Hollywood church, the Church of Jesus Christ Latter-day Saints. Family friend Karam Riker said Bolivar is fragile. She has high-functioning autism, said Riker, and she has ADHD. Now, Riker says she used to be on medication. I'm seeing other articles that are saying she was still currently taking Adderall for the ADHD. She's a peacemaker, not a fighter. She is a devout Christian. Another piece of information that I share with families I'm in contact with in similar situations: reach out to those churches. Thankfully, her family is very close because they actively participate in this particular church. So you've got a community at your disposal, basically right off the bat. People that care about you and your family, people that are willing to take their time to help with these causes, search efforts, getting out posters, spreading the word. It's such a useful aspect to this case, and I don't want to just kind of breeze past it. They're in the community to be a service to the community in some way on both a spiritual level, but also for the safety and care of your family. So, even if you're someone that maybe doesn't participate with a particular church, if you have a missing loved one, check them out, because I would bet 99 times out of 100 you're going to find help from those resources. Over at WSVN.com from February 15th, "In my heart, I feel like she's okay," said her father, Jose, "but that doesn't mean that she's not in danger, and I could be running out of time." On Tuesday, Noemi's friends were back at Ann Kolb. One of them even brought a drone. They've been posting flyers and handing them out, hoping someone saw something last week and can help. "We're trying to get as much information as we can. We're out here. We're searching for her. We love her so much, said friend Leslie Miguel. And they said they won't stop searching anytime soon, and they haven't. It's only been 5 weeks, and I believe there's already been 8 searches. We're not giving up on you, Noemi. We know that you're out there. We want you to be safe, and we want to bring you home, Leslie said. Another article from NBCMiami.com. Family members said Bolivar looks very young, and they described her as sweet but naive. They said they're worried that she could have been a victim of human trafficking. Now, this comes up pretty frequently when I'm covering cases. I think it's something that is on the public's mindset because we keep hearing about giant raids where, human traffickers are being taken down, and all of a sudden, in some of these raids, literally like hundreds of kids are being saved from these situations. And then we also understand there's different levels in terms of, there's some people that believe human trafficking is just some type of criminal underworld, super big conspiracy type thing. And there's other levels where it could be one person that effectively is becoming the trafficker of someone else. I'm not sure why this risk factor is being brought up so frequently in the coverage that I'm seeing on this case. I did look at some of the conversation around this case, and there's kind of an unsubstantiated fact. I haven't found it in any official news sources, but I see that people are talking about the possibility that she might have been seen at a bar with 2 men. And that's as far as I want to go into it because it's completely unconfirmed. I can't find anything that is saying that first of all, is accurate. Second, if it was that simple to me, I would think that law enforcement would probably, especially a bar, you're definitely going to have cameras there. I think there would have been some footage, a snapshot that could have come out, a question of who these 2 men are. I'm not seeing any of that at all. But just knowing there's talk like that around this case, that might be helping the concern that the family and friends are having with this being a potential trafficking situation. And of course, this taking place in Florida where, some of these trafficking stories certainly are happening. So I just kind of wanted to approach that. Once again, please take that information with a huge grain of salt because I can't find anything to confirm that that's actually what's going on in this case. Quote, my worst fear is that somebody may have taken my baby to traffic her or something like that. I'm begging the public that if you know something or were around the area of Ann Kolb Nature Center on Thursday evening or around the beach, just call us and let us know, her mother, Maricel, said. That's another thing. I don't know how popular that beach area is, like on a Thursday night, but being around beach communities before, generally you get a lot of people out there, especially if there's any type of restaurant or bar like we were talking about. So I'm kind of curious that we're not hearing more information from potential witnesses. Yes, I saw her out here. She was walking with 2 guys or whatever. None of that information seems to be kind of trickling back through the news. We basically get one person, and we'll get to them in one of the articles, that says they believe that they actually saw her, but it was at the nature center. And honestly, they didn't have anything that was very helpful in terms of information. The area of Hollywood is so big and massive, we need way more people, said Karam Riker. We definitely have hope. We have not found her body or her shoes or anything, so we have a lot of reason to believe that she is still alive, but that something bad has happened to her. And obviously, 5 weeks later, we're really concerned about that possibility. Another article at WSVN.com from February 17th, 2021. Authorities searched around the Ann Kolb Nature Center to look for evidence to help in their search for a missing 21-year-old from Hollywood. More than 24 Hollywood police officers, with the assistance of the Broward Sheriff's Office, searched the park on Sheridan Street just west of Hollywood Beach Wednesday afternoon. Quote, we want to assure the family, we want to assure the citizens that we're doing everything we possibly can to help find Noemi, Hollywood police spokesman Christian Latta said. We have helicopters, we have drones, we have canine units, we have bloodhounds. We're doing everything humanly possible. So here's where we get to the sighting. A man named Larry, who did not disclose his last name, said he believes he saw the 21-year-old at the nature center. I was here about 4:15, 4:30, he said. I don't think she was crying or nothing. That was the last time anyone heard from her. I'm just a little unsure about the time frame, and maybe he's obviously being a little loose with the time frame. But if she leaves home at 4, she's catching a bus. I don't think the bus was waiting for her to get to the stop. I think she likely had to sit at the stop for a period of time. I don't know that this sighting would have happened in the 4:15 to 4:30 range. So I'm not sure. I'm not sure if this is a legit sighting. Maybe he saw someone else that he thought was her. And honestly, this is the only article that I could find that even references this. I know some people in some threads, the Web Sleuths thread on this case, getting very caught up on this piece of information. And you just have to remember, especially nowadays, especially since now when we're in public, a lot of us are wearing masks. I could tell you even before that, sightings, the information from sightings it's not very strong. Just I've talked to enough families that have gone through this often enough to know that many proposed sightings are just citizens that are caring about the case, trying to be helpful, but maybe they don't have the best information. That's kind of the feeling that I'm getting from this one. And I know some people in conversation threads, like they're even wondering, well, did Larry have something to do with what happened to her? I think it's just because of the fact that he didn't want to disclose his last name. I don't know. The information for this sighting already seems kind of questionable to me. And I think it's just someone that thought he was trying to be helpful, but I'm not convinced that he actually saw her. And there's no other information to really support it that I could find, at least through the official news searches. So then we have them, the police actually go back to the park. They're searching wooded areas of the park. And there's some aerial footage here. I just wanted to show you a little clip of it. And I just wasn't sure when I first bumped into this information. I'm like, well, why are they searching these types of areas? I don't know. Are these paths, like you can see they're walking through a gate here to where their vehicles are. Are these paths generally open to the public? Is it something where she could have gone for a walk on some of these paths, and now that they're just kind of, conducting their searches out there? Thankfully, we get a little clarification over at local10.com. We're actually doing a grid search of the area, said Officer Christian Latta from the Hollywood Police Department. The reason why we're doing that is to possibly find any evidence or any indication of where she could possibly be or have traveled. Officers say at the moment they don't suspect any foul play, and they haven't uncovered anything in the search. I don't know, at least based on this specific search effort, I haven't seen any information come out in articles to say, yeah, we did find something, we can't tell you what it is. So I'm not sure. And look at that. I mean, it's a huge area of land. And I think it looked like maybe a dozen people out there, at least in this particular shot. And admittedly, maybe they have several teams that are out there. It seems like it would be a massive search effort. And I don't know how accessible all that land is. I don't know, like if she went walking off of a trail, would they even be able to kind of follow that trace out there? There's so many possibilities, because we're talking about a huge area of land where we know she was at. And then we've got all these other conditions around, and a lot of people, I would think, for being that close to the beach. A lot of different possibilities with this case. Over at cbslocal.com, we're getting tips every day. We have had sightings, said family friend Karam Riker. Riker says Noemi's plan was to work for the National Park Service, and she was dealing with disappointment over not getting an internship at Everglades National Park. So just a little more detail in terms of what she was possibly upset about that day. Riker does not believe Noemi is deliberately hiding. We went through her laptop. She wasn't messaging anyone, she says. And I think she's addressing another big concern, that maybe this was potentially a grooming situation. Someone had been talking to her over a period of time and then convinced her to kind of run away from home. And, we've certainly seen other Searchlight cases where that has been a factor. Knowing that they went through her laptop, does that ease it for me a little bit? Yes, but is that an absolute? Not necessarily, because we know they don't have her phone. And if it was a situation like that, A lot of time the groomers are going to use a communication channel that isn't something standard. They might have her install some kind of special app, and then they're only talking to her through that app. So I don't know that it really takes that completely out of play for what we're seeing here. Continuing at local10.com, another article from there. About 200 volunteers met at a church Saturday morning to mobilize with missing person flyers. Once again, just I'm amazed when I see community support on a case like this. But specifically, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, Hollywood Hills, they've really been trying to help this family in very big, significant ways. We're going to talk more about those as we continue. Bolivar is a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, Hollywood Hills, and most of the volunteers were from the church and were joined by other members of the community. Volunteers wore portable electronic billboards on their backs. And I'd never really seen anything like this. It's a huge billboard, and it's got kind of a poster in it, and there's lights all around the poster, so that's lit up. And then there's a digital ticker kind of across the top with a scrolling phone number for anyone that has information. Just really, really impressed. And it's such a good idea, especially for high traffic areas where there's a lot of people on foot. I think getting a few people out wearing those backpack kits like that, really, really good idea. On top of that, they had people driving around where vehicles were taped onto the sides and back of their cars. Hollywood police sent out a press release with a photo that showed Bolivar on a Broward County bus. Police said she was seen getting on the bus in the 7000 block of Sheridan Street, which we had covered on the map, and she got off the bus in the 800 block of Sheridan Street, which we also talked about on the map. Here we have a quote from someone that says that she was wearing purple sneakers, but we've got the photo for ourselves here. So this is the photo from the bus. I believe in the official description that we talked about teal sneakers, and yeah, there's certainly teal from where I'm standing. But here you get a very good shot of the clothes she's wearing, the type of striped shirt that she's wearing, the shorts that she's wearing. And of course, we know she's wearing a white mask and sunglasses as well. Over at Yahoo News, more than 100 volunteers help. And here we have someone wearing a Find Noemi face mask. From February 20th, 2021, more than 100 volunteers joined a search Saturday. It's been crazy, very desperate, her father, Jose, said. Every minute counts with this search. There's no doubt in my mind, her mother, Maricel, said, she would never do this without contacting me. Organizers mapped out grids where teams of volunteers were deployed to pass out flyers, go door to door to talk to residents and businesses, and even patrol the intracoastal waterway in kayaks. Hollywood police have received tips as a result of the ongoing publicity. We have a couple of tips, so we go out and search those areas, Jose said. I cannot tell you exactly where in particular because of the investigation. The Bolivars have also retained a private investigator. A lot of these people know my daughter. They love her, Maricel said. I know we are going to find her, but we cannot find her alone. I think this is the perfect time to ask, please share this video. If you have any friends in this area, please, please, please share this video with them. Let's keep the exposure raised and keep people looking for her. We need to continue pushing her face out there so when people see something, they can say something, said Benjamin Mena, a longtime friend of Bolivar. More people are contacting us for leads, so it's really helping out a lot, said her friend Lizette Rodriguez. And we want to keep those leads being called in. We want to get more tips going that direction, and hopefully you'll help me do that. Over at Deseret.com, a Latter-day Saint congregation search for a missing girl from February 25th, 2021. Jose Bolivar drives through the communities around Hollywood, Florida, hoping for a glimpse of a young woman who was brimming with potential when she left home February 11th to take a walk in a nature preserve. But her 22nd birthday came and went Monday with no sign of her whereabouts. So once again, I mean, if we weren't already concerned about this case, her not celebrating a birthday with her friends, her family, her loved ones, just takes it to another level as well. So as he had for 2 weeks now, sometimes wearing a BYU Idaho Dad baseball cap, Jose Bolivar drives on. The Fort Lauderdale, Florida stake took action. Instantly, they organized in 2 customary ways based on their church callings and their experiences with hurricane response. The primary chorister in the Hollywood ward, Karen Riker, launched a Facebook push to mobilize searchers, and the first search party of 12 people went out at noon. A second search in the evening doubled in size. That night, and every night since, a collection of members met to coordinate. For example, every day, Lainey Natane calls hospitals, mortuaries, and homeless shelters. She's preparing an application to add Noemi to the National Missing and Unidentified Person System. Lainey, apparently you did something right because she's already on NamUs. Riker coordinates media coverage and does interviews on behalf of the family. Her husband coordinates with the private investigator and police detectives. So that's why I wanted to thank Karen so much at the start of this video. First of all, she is in practically all of the articles in some way that I've come across in terms of looking into this. But on top of that, she's also got her husband coordinating with a private investigator and police detectives as well. So they're both working on several fronts helping this family. 2 other women handle social media. A couple coordinates the maps of the searches. One man is gathering surveillance footage from local businesses. Such an important aspect. And now we're at the 5-week mark. You know, some of that footage starts getting rewritten or overwritten on those security systems. I'm thankful that this article's from a couple weeks ago when a lot of that footage was still available, to know that there was someone just going door to door. Hey, can we have a copy of your surveillance for this particular night? Very, very big step, I think. Community donors have provided at no cost 13,000 flyers with Noemi's photo and information. The relief societies of the Hollywood and Hollywood Hills wards are providing meals and groceries. And here is a sign of the signs that I was talking about. You can see how big that poster is. They've got phone numbers scrolling across the top. Perfect for high foot traffic areas. Jose Bolivar has not worked since his daughter's disappearance, but has been reluctant to accept money. JT Riker and Ben Mena launched a PayPal account to provide gas money for his drives and funding for potential counseling or health expenses for Noemi. So I didn't find any GoFundMe for this, but I think this is the only article. I might have seen it in one other place. They have a link to the PayPal here. I'm going to have a link in the description box down below. And of course, you guys know me. Thanks to my amazing supporters through PayPal, Patreon, people that buy merchandise, we're making a donation directly to help keep Jose driving around looking for his daughter, help this family, and possibly help Noemi with any needs she might have when she's found. If you guys want to add to that donation, the link will be in the description box down below, and I hope that you join me in terms of doing that. And once again, a big thank you to my supporters for allowing me to do things like that. There are some universal takeaways, Karen Riker said. One is what a group of volunteers can do to make a difference. Quote, "If this ever happened again, which we hope it doesn't, one question is, how can you mobilize your community to bring somebody home, especially when the authorities aren't helping?" I just want to stop here for a moment. That's the first little hint that I have of, it seems like they're getting worried that authorities aren't doing all that they could be doing. Or maybe she's just talking about a hypothetical situation. But knowing that we're talking about getting to the 1 month mark and the after 1 month mark, if it hasn't happened yet, we know that fairly soon a lot of the resources from the police side are going to start being reallocated and shift to other tasks. That's just what happens in these cases. And usually around that, the family, the friends, there's going to be some tough feelings that start up around that. I think everyone just needs to do their best to remember they need each other. The police need the public to know how to help progress this case. That's why they need those leads called in, potential sightings, potential information about maybe I did see her. I think it was in this area at this time, or social information about I heard someone talking about something. I think it could be related to her. It's so important to keep that relationship functional in some way. I know it's not going to be the easiest thing, but these cases The families need the communities need law enforcement, particularly if this does get to some form of prosecution phase, or if there is a road to justice that needs to start being looked at. But it goes both ways. Ultimately, everyone needs each other in this. So I'm hoping she's talking about a hypothetical there. But back to her point, I think it would be wonderful for other members to show how if a ward like ours in a low-income area, if we can do it, and if we can mobilize all of these resources, you can too. And I think she's making a really, really good point. I don't think it's too hard to get people to care if you give them a shot, and if you reach out for those right types of communities in your area. I think that you're going to find a lot of help generally, and I'm thankful that they have that in this case. Over at NBCmiami.com from March 4th, 2021, the Hollywood Police Department has continued to be in contact with Bolivar's family and is concerned about her, the department said in a news release on Thursday. Now, I don't know if that's in response to some type of criticism. I'm not seeing any real big criticism of the police department in this at all. So it could just be that that's a general statement because they know that they are coming up on the 1 month mark at this point. But let's go ahead and continue with just a little more information. We're almost through all the news articles here. We hear about a night of prayer for the 1 month mark on Thursday, March 11th. And of course, the location is the Hollywood Chapel in Hollywood, Florida. Over at NBC Miami, March 12th, 2021, they report on it. Prayer vigil held. Friends and family of 21-year-old Noemi Bolivar gathered for a prayer vigil Thursday, 1 month after she disappeared in Hollywood. Jose is hopeful his daughter will be found safe and sound. My faith is still strong, Bolivar said. I believe we're going to find her soon. In the 1 month she's been missing, there have been 8 different search parties to find her. Hopefully soon we're going to have her back, he said. From what I can see, this is a family that has a lot of great resources around it, a community that's rallying around them. I see all the right steps being taken. I did reach out to Maricel. I just sent her a message with a link to our Brainscratchers page on missing persons tips. I don't know how long this case is going to go on, but of course, that page is just loaded with all kinds of next steps, different considerations, and things like that. So I wanted to make sure that the family had that. But this is where I turn it over to you, Brain Scratchers. I think there's a few distinct possibilities going on in this case. I'm definitely concerned about the grooming potential, about the possibility that she had been groomed by someone through some means of communication that the family or law enforcement maybe hasn't even been able to track down yet. I'm also concerned about the cell phone pings happening out in what is a much, I think, more public area, and not seeing any information of people stepping forward to say, oh yeah, I saw her, she was out here, or more, something even better would be video footage. You know, here's a snapshot from her walking by a bar or a restaurant. So I'm a little concerned. I'm a little concerned that there's some possibility something could have happened in the park and that her phone got separated from her at that time. Maybe there's someone else that's carrying her phone around up and down the beach. I don't know. I can't quite shake that consideration. Outside of that, an accident, I think we have to stay open to that possibility. Yes, I understand this is someone that absolutely has a love for animals in a very significant way. Is there some possibility of an accident that happened around that admiration? I think that's something that we need to stay open to as well. It's really, really tough, but I do want to end with a consideration from Karam that she stated here on abc7.com. I don't think Noemi would run away from home. I don't think this is a prank. I have to agree with her on that, absolutely. I don't think she's hiding out at someone's house and living a life away from her parents. We believe that something bad has happened, but we believe that she is still alive and we want to bring her home. If you would like to keep track of this case, I will have a link down below for this Facebook group. This is the Bring Noemi Home official page. So I imagine any future search efforts, you're probably going to hear about them here. So I'll have a link to that down below. Also down below in the sources section, I will have a link to the Web Sleuths thread. There's a pretty strong conversation going. It's already at 13 pages here. A lot of people that also care about this case. If you want to share your thoughts, theories, other ideas, this is the perfect place to do it outside of course, the comment box right down below. Before I end today's video, I have to thank several new patrons. Thank you, Shelly Marie, Mel V, Jen Falls, and Lauren Holloway. Also, a very big thank you to people that have increased their pledges: Becky King, Annika, and Gravity Head Zero. If you'd like to support the channel, please visit lordandarts.com, where you can sign up for PayPal, Patreon, or buy merchandise. All of it helps keep us here working to help these families in these very tough situations, and we really appreciate your help in terms of allowing us to do that. Stay safe, take care, have a nice weekend. We'll be back on Monday with a brand new episode of Case Cracked right here on the Lord and Arts channel.